What's up guys, it's me Jeremy. A lot of people like to try and copy their favorite League of Legends players by using the champions they see being played in the LCS and then bringing them into the ranked environment. So champions that are strong in competitive play pretty much always end up being super popular in solo queue, or dynamic queue I guess. But solo queue isn't competitive play, and champions that are strong in competitive play aren't always necessarily that good in solo queue, and vice versa. Overpowered picks in competitive play are also often the first in line for nerfs and changes. And so today we're looking at another bunch of champion picks that you guys can use in your ranked games that are both powerful in solo queue, while maybe not being so powerful in competitive play for assorted reasons. These champions are always awesome picks for solo queue in my eyes, since they're at a much higher likelihood of not getting banned out or picked by other players, giving you some nice advantages, and they're also much more likely to avoid nerfs in the future. And if you enjoy the video, hit that like button, and if you don't, hit that dislike. And a huge shout out goes to ProGuides.com for helping me out with the editing on this video today. They recently released a new service that allows you to ask questions to higher ranked players and get a response almost instantly actually. And I think it's pretty damn cool, but you don't have to take it from me because they actually have a free trial that gets you full access, so you can check them out and decide for yourself if you like it or not. The first champion that we have is Wukong. The major part about the Monkey King that he succeeds in is his versatility. You can play him in either top or jungle to great success, so if you play both of those roles, you have a powerful pick to pull out in either situation. He's constantly at a solid win rate, and he's really been moving up in strength over the last few patches, yet he's still not played that often in ranked. Another super cool thing about Wukong is that he's really flexible when it comes to his build path. You can play Wukong like an assassin if you're ahead and just snowball like crazy, using his stealth to dash in and close the distance and kill squishies really quickly. But you can also just build full tank if your team needs you to be that solid frontliner to protect your backline if you're maybe not that far ahead, or if your bot laners or mid laner just happen to snowball the game. To top it all off, his ultimate ability is just a total game changer. It's one thing to be able to snowball, dueling through 1v1 in your opponent and having that 1v1 power, but it's really important to be able to convert that power into teamfights too, and Wukong does that almost better than anyone. His high damage and high utility ultimate is perfect for this. Maybe if one of your pre-mades plays a Yasuo, you definitely want Wukong in your champion pool for that epic wombo combo too. He has a lot of synergy with other champions. And with all that said, you might wonder why a versatile pick like Wukong is left out in the LCS, and it's probably for two main reasons. First off, jungle Wukong really wants to snowball with ganks, but in the LCS, vision control is on such a high level that it's really hard to pull off those ganks. And for top lane Wukong, he's a great laner in a 1v1, but if the enemy team decides to lane swap, it's insanely difficult for him to be useful. But in solo queue, 2v1s just don't happen. And being able to handle a 2v1 is a huge factor in competitive play for top laners, since they're so frequent. It's probably almost every single game where it happens. And unfortunately, Wukong does suffer a lot there, but it's not all that bad because it means that he's all yours to dominate solo queue with. Next on our list, we have Sejuani in the jungle. It's kind of crazy to see a champion go from being such a highly contested competitive pick to being almost never picked in competitive play. And this probably comes down to the fact that she was so overpowered when she was picked, because of that alone really. I mean, back in Season 5 when Cinderhulk was released, that item was just ridiculous, and Sejuani as well was also super powerful, but after nerfs to Cinderhulk and to Sejuani as well, that did take away her position as like a must-pick champion in LCS, so her play rate in solo queue dropped pretty hard too as a result. But despite all of that though, she really hasn't fallen off in power in terms of solo queue at all. She still has really good wave clear, super powerful ganks, and an ultimate that can just win games by itself if you can land it properly. Sejuani's one of those champions where her power is gated by her long cooldowns, but with cooldown reduction being more available now than ever before, there's never been a better time to hop on that boar. High win rate, low play rate, and a non-existent ban rate. The stars have really aligned on this one, and you could definitely give her a chance if you enjoy tanky junglers. Just remember to be careful with her ultimate though, because teamfights can kind of be decided if you mess it up, or if you maybe land it perfectly. Timing is everything, and make sure your team is ready to back you up. Our next pick is someone that's pretty much always been a great choice for solo queue, and it's Annie. Annie's the kind of champion where you're going to learn a lot about managing your cooldowns and how to position properly when you play her. It's a little bit scary to use an immobile champion when the game is so fast paced, but if you're careful how you position, you're going to be rewarded a lot with some of the most amazing raw power in the game in terms of burst damage combos. Annie mid has never really had a chance to shine in competitive play because all of her abilities have somewhat short ranges, and her passive stun is a little bit easy to avoid at the highest level of play. She's seen a ton of play as support though because of her long auto attack range and that flash ult stun playmaking ability, but when you add in high base damage, this one trick wonder was awesome to watch as she stuns up entire teams, and in the mid lane, it just brings so much raw power. And that doesn't necessarily translate into a good mid laner for pro play though, where champions need to be able to contribute a little bit more than just consistent damage that's harder to avoid. And that being said, in solo queue, your ability to take one enemy champion out of the fight is just insanely valuable. If you can turn a 5v5 fight into a 4v5 with just the press of your R button and the rest of your combo, your team is going to be thanking you as you bring your rise to some LP. And if you get fed enough, you can honestly just wreck everyone, and you still always have that option of stunning multiple people with the flash tibbers that really just wins team fights by itself. And I personally think Annie's really fun to play because I love that moment of just flashing in, tibbersing like 4, maybe 3 people and just stunning everyone and just winning a fight all by yourself. And especially when you get fed, she's super fun because you're just one-shotting people. It's awesome. Our next champion's a bit of an oddity, and it's Miss Fortune. Now, unlike a little bit of the others on the list, she does see a little bit of fringe play in the LCS, usually because coordinated teams can use her ultimate in some synergistic team comps to great success, but it is a little bit of a difficult strategy though, because she does kind of become fodder for assassins and can often get taken out of a fight before she gets a chance to put a lot of damage down. But that doesn't necessarily translate into the ranked experience though. And although Miss Fortune does see a tiny bit of play, especially in the LPL, we definitely did want to include an AD carry on this list, and we felt that Miss Fortune was the best candidate, and she doesn't really get played that much in LCS, honestly. She's a very unpopular pick at that level. So I feel like it's fine to include her, even though she has played a little bit. We just wanted to have a champion for every single role. And the truth is that Miss Fortune is a lot better in solo queue than she is in competitive play. You're far more likely to be able to get a full ultimate off as Miss Fortune in ranked, and that is going to be a serious beating for the enemy team because you really don't require that much setup since the enemy team isn't going to be coordinated enough to stop you. Most of the time when a champion is strong in team fighting later on, they kind of have a weak laning phase to balance it, but that isn't really the case with Miss Fortune. Her early levels are incredibly powerful for an AD carry, and she has a lot of harass. If the enemy bot lane stays behind their creeps, you can unleash amazing poke with her Q. And I do recommend partnering up with a pre-made support maybe if you're going to play Miss Fortune, because having that one extra person to help you set up your ultimate can be awesome. And she is really easy to partner with regardless though. You can go for a support that helps her escape ganks, one that's going to complement her lane dominance, or maybe someone that helps her set up for that epic ultimate wombo combo. Miss Fortune also has a lot of different viable item builds that you can use to stomp ranked with, which gives her a lot more versatility than most AD carries, in terms of the build path at least. It kind of blows my mind how much damage Miss Fortune can actually do in team fights, so she really does carry games super hard when she gets ahead. She's definitely someone to look into for you ADC mains out there. And as if Annie wasn't bringing enough fire into this video, next up we have Brand, specifically on support. We love Brand's raw firepower, and his early poke is something that just destroys the laning phase. It's no surprise that support mains have been using Brand to snowball their AD carries ahead, and that's something that is just awesome to do for solo queue, and it's really the important thing about Brand. He's fantastic early on, but the longer the game goes, he does become a little bit weaker and can kind of fall off late game, but only if you can't translate that laning power into a team fighting presence. And that's probably what prevents him from seeing competitive play as a support, at least in this season. Pro teams are able to stall out games way better than players in ranked can, so the early advantages a Brand can give your team are a lot easier to use in solo queue. There's also the factor that despite Brand's super powerful laning phase, in competitive play the opponents are just going to 2v1 to avoid that. But that's not something that comes up in solo queue. And to add into that, you also have his ultimate. It gives him a lot of power, but it does have some weaknesses. It's a targeted nuke that bounces around around dealing huge damage and helping you trigger the passive for even more area of effect burst, but the randomness of the bounces and the fact that it's a slow-moving projectile makes it a little bit too unreliable for pro use, since a coordinated team can spread out far enough fast enough to avoid the rest of the ultimate bounces. But for solo queue, Brand support is definitely worth a look for those of you who like to play with fire, but don't count on seeing him as a support in a professional game anytime soon. For the next champion, we've got someone who's great in two roles once again, and it's Kayle. Totally viable as a top laner or as a mid laner, honestly, potentially even as a jungler if you're feeling a little bit crazy. However, I do want to give a little bit of a warning with the Kayle pick, because Kayle is kind of weak when playing from behind in a lot of situations. This is one of the champions that has kind of like a deceptively simple kit that you really need to get familiar with to use the pick properly. Kayle shines the brightest when you've got a full bag of items, and she can dish out some awesome sustained damage. This does come at the sacrifice of a little bit of raw burst power though, and so she can be a little bit hard to get used to for players who are used to playing maybe burst mages, especially mid laners. On the plus side though, she does prevent a lot of enemy burst with her fantastic ultimate, making her a great counter pick for high burst picks in solo queue, especially assassins, as well as some burst mages too. And if you put the time into learning how to manage her power spikes, as well as just how to play her throughout the game, you can definitely just tear up the ladder with her. In the mid lane, you have to play a little bit safe, whereas in top lane, you can bully a little bit harder, but aside from those differences, she plays pretty much the same way, builds the same way, using her ultimate to prevent damage as a great way to bait out big ultimates like Zed, and can be used to bait enemy champions too under your tower or kill them under theirs. Kayle is a great choice for carrying ranked games, but the item dependence makes her easy prey for the highly organized pro teams who will do everything they can to deny her the gold she so desperately needs by 2v1ing against her. Her ultimate's actually less useful in competitive play too now, as enemies are more aware of it and can play around it or even force or bait out the Kayle player to use it in suboptimal situations. However, Kayle has been good in competitive play in the past, so it's not impossible that we see her being played in the future, but at least for this season, she hasn't really been picked at all. And next up on our list today is actually Jarvan, and what a note to end on, because he's actually my favorite champion right now. He's the champion that I main, at least for the past couple of months or so. And we're going to talk primarily about Jarvan as a top laner, because that's where he really shows his strength, especially for solo queue at the moment. Riot nerfed Jarvan pretty hard out of the jungle in Season 4, and he's never really recovered his power in the jungle since. He's still playable though, with a nice leash to help you on that first clear, but top lane is definitely where this guy belongs now. He has some of the highest kill potential out of any top laner, and his damage seemingly just comes out of nowhere. If you want to get surprise kills in lane, Jarvan is a fantastic pick to do so if you just want to dive your lane opponent over and over again and get tons of solo kills, as well as having great roaming too. If you're laning against a top laner you think you have kill pressure on, definitely take Ignite 2 to snowball that laning phase. If not, Teleport's a great option as well, because he's an awesome ganker, and you can totally snowball the game for your team with some well-timed teleports. He synergizes incredibly well with the bruiser items such as the Hydra or Black Cleaver, but I kind of like to play him as an assassin honestly. He's very similar to Wukong in a sense, a strong duelist who can just deal massive damage in area of effect, especially since the change to his ultimate, the buff that makes it deal damage in an area of effect. But he can also be played as tank if your team needs it. But why isn't he played in competitive play if he has all that going for him? Unfortunately, his similarities to Wukong don't really end with the strengths. His lack of sustain really hurts in poke lanes or versus 2v1 scenarios, and he's a lot more all-in than Wukong. Your EQ engage combo is also your only means of escape, unlike Wukong, who has the decoy if he needs it. This means with Jarvan it's kind of like a kill or be killed scenario, and that's simply too much of a liability for professional teams and way too easy to exploit in a 2v1. But it definitely still makes him insanely fun to play in ranked, and he's definitely worth picking up if you want to dunk on some kids. And that pretty much wraps up my list for this edition of champions that are OP in ranked but weak in competitive play. Give me your thoughts on the champions listed, or maybe tell us about your favorite OP ranked picks that don't see competitive play in the comments below. That's going to be it from me. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like, subscribe if you want. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.